He's coming from TikTok now, just getting a quick drink, guys. G'day, everybody. It's mostly TikTok, fellas, eh? Had a black snake in my garage. They don't really move fast on concrete. Now, especially that polished concrete. If I had to like build a reptile shed from scratch, I'd build one with polished concrete. From Melbourne, Canberra, Hunter Valley. Where is everybody from, I suppose? We'll see who we've got. I'm from Hamilton. Most people have never heard of Hamilton. It's a small town in Western Victoria. We're about an hour from the South Australian border. But I grew up in Melbourne. I left Melbourne when I was 18 to work at a zoo in North Queensland up in Townsville. And then I worked at zoos in Ballarat, Phillip Island. Then I caught snakes in remote mine sites in Central and Western Queensland. So I've been everywhere, man. Coolangatta, Parramatta, Wangaratta, what's it matter? Northern New South Wales, Wollongong. G'day, mate, from Brisbane. I'm actually heading up to Brisbane, and that's one of the things we're going to talk, well, maybe heading up to Brisbane. That's one of the things we're going to talk about. I'll give it a couple of minutes for anybody who's not from TikTok to jump on over. People all over the lovely country. We've got lots of Australians tonight. It's almost like, born in Hewenden. Years and years ago, when I went to Townsville, I drove up 18, just had my license, didn't really know where I was going to go, or how I was going to get to Townsville. I ended up taking a pretty major detour and ended up in Hewenden. And I was ringing the boss who was expecting me to rock up there anytime. And he's like, where are you? I'm like, I'm in Hegnugden. He's like, Hegnugden? Like, Hegnugden. I'm like, Hewenden. But yeah, nice area. Got Collette's Black Snakes up that way. First time joining. G'day, Sky. How are you? Cairns. We have a trip planned to Cairns in September. Yeah. Where do I get rats? Because they're a bit pricey right now. Or do I breed them? I don't breed or really... Well, I used to breed rats. Currently, I feed mostly like 3 or 4 day-old roosters. I buy roosters live through the egg industry. I don't like feeding off day-olds. I think they're just full of cholesterol. They're basically just a yolk with feathers. So I'm lucky I'm at 100 acres. Nobody cares. So I've got a big heated pen in my shed. Do I still have time to get out of Death Adder? I've gone and fished a Death Adder. I'll get it. I have to find a small hook if I can. Rami's going to send me a hook. My daughter was playing with the snake hook yesterday. So maybe I'll have to use a big hook. See, I will get out of Death Adder, I promise. Even if it's with the big awkward hook. But yes, so I forgot what I was talking about. So basically, before we start, getting too carried away, for anybody who watches after the live stream, we'll try to make it make sense. Before we get out any snakes, there's a couple of things that I wanted to run by everybody, especially our YouTube supporters, our Patreon supporters. That's right, you'll get the hooks. Your name will get a shout out every time I use a hook. So I hope you're ready to sell a few or something. But yeah, so we've got a couple of things or offers that I wanted to talk to our YouTube supporters and our Patreon supporters, if there's anybody out there. Rami's one of our Patreon supporters. Speaking of which, guys, if you enjoy our videos and you see Patreon supporters like Rami, like Eccles Angel, I don't think she's on tonight, any of those people, thank them. They're the reason why we get to do these videos. So it's Rami, the other Patreon supporters, they're the reason we still exist. We had to move on quite a few animals when we lost all our work from COVID, but anything you see here, we've managed to keep alive and keep in our possession because of our Patreon supporters. So it's amazing. But so I wanted to run it by you guys before we start getting some snakes out. We were planning, or we've been planning for the last 6 months, to go visit Brisbane. A friend of mine's got a private zoo up there, and we're going to go up there and film boa constrictors and capybaras and fennec foxes and alligators and lots of really cool stuff. And I still hope to head up there. But I've also had somebody else contact me to go and do something that's about the same time. And I don't know which one I should do. And I wanted to run it by you guys. Maybe I'll get a snake out while we have a talk about this. If you'll come, you'll buy me a beer. Where are you again? You're at Brisbane, are you? I've got a memory like a sieve. Here we go. I'll get out Jake while we're talking. So, Brisbane is where we were going to head. We're going to head to Brisbane, film a bunch of exotic wildlife, do a whole thing on it. But the other week, I had somebody reach out to me and ask if I'd be interested in two things. They wanted to know if I'd want to go up to the Hawkesbury, is it Hawkesbury? Up in Penrith, in Sydney. Go to their reptile expo and feature their reptile expo in a video. And that'd help me out with the expense of getting up there. So I don't know. It's the 23rd. It's 23rd of next month, which is the same weekend I was hoping to go to Brisbane. So I can either go to Brisbane and film with capybaras, alligators, boas, or I can go to Sydney and film the reptile expo, which I've never been to. So, you know, they've asked me to go. I've never been interstate for a reptile thing. And, you know, they're saying, you know, it'll be good because you'll be able to get more subscribers. Carolyn, g'day, how are you? Everybody say hello to Carolyn. She's a long-time supporter of us. So, yeah, I don't know. I'd like your opinion. Should I be heading to Brisbane filming exotic wildlife, or should I be heading to Sydney and filming a reptile expo? I don't know. Yeah, so the reptile expo would be fantastic brand exposure, whereas Brisbane will give me maybe 6 months worth of content. You know, we're going to smash out 20 or 30 videos in a weekend because you guys are starting to see everything I own. So I need to put some content. The other thing that they asked is if I couldn't make the expo, and this is the real thing I wanted to speak to you about. If I couldn't make the expo, they want to know if I'd go up another time during the year and be a guest speaker at one of their meetings. And to be honest, I'm not sure if I'm cut out. Like, I can talk. There's no worries about that. But I don't know how many of you guys are involved in herpetological societies, but like, I grew up going to herpetological society meetings. And the people that used to talk there are the people that I looked up to. You know, Brian Barnett's, and there were zookeepers from all over Australia and people who were the first people in the world to breed some species. And I suppose I was like a teenager in what I call like the golden age of herpetology, like the 90s, early 2000s. I have a TikTok. Yeah, that's where we were on TikTok like 20 minutes ago. I don't know if I'm cut out to do it. Like, I don't know if I feel, I'm not a breeder. I don't breed a whole heap of animals. I don't keep a lot of complex animals. I do keep venomous snakes. I just don't know if I'm qualified enough to talk at a reptile meeting. And I don't know, I thought I'd leave it to you guys. They said I could talk on any topic I like. What's a TikTok? Just Wicked Wildlife, mate. Yeah, same Wicked Wildlife. We're on Wicked Wildlife on Facebook, Wicked Wildlife on TikTok, Wicked Wildlife Australia on Instagram, just to be a bit different. Education is all about expo degree of great opportunity to expand the platform. I know, they're both great options. If they weren't both in the same time, and I can't, for a start, they're both basically over the same few weeks. And I can't afford to get to both of them. So, you know, like our Patreon supporters, they help us out a lot. That's basically what's going to fund a trip to Brisbane. And I don't want to skip on the trip to Brisbane to film all this exotic wildlife if they'd rather see me at the expo or vice versa. So, yeah, I'm in a bit of a stuck situation. But we'll go through some questions. Go to Sydney. They both have great opportunities. They do. I don't know what to do. The Reptile Expo is great. I'm sure it is. Brisbane. Lots of people's opinions. I can tell you that you want to go to the Reptile Expo. Never been to one. I've been to plenty of I've been to the Reptile Expo down here. So the Reptile Expo would be cool. The thing is, one of my lifetime dreams has been to meet a capybara, which isn't a reptile. It's not what you guys subscribe for. But a capybara is the largest reptile on the planet. And my friend in Brisbane has just had baby capybaras. Imagine a newborn guinea pig like as big as a Labrador. It's amazing. Ever heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect? Look it up. Help you make up your mind. Yeah, I don't know. I suppose I've grown up looking at people talk at reptile meetings, and I'm like, they're all people who are very, very accomplished. And the only difference with me and the average reptile keeper is I keep a little bit more, and that I can talk a lot. Yeah, there's nothing that special, I suppose. Am I going to Coffs Harbour TAFE on Monday? Because I will be there. I'd love to, but it's a long drive from me. We all know Sydney. I can't remember my maths, if the Arrow's better or worse than Brisbane. Sorry I missed all this. I have no idea what this is about. Hope you do what makes you the happiest in the long run. You can be after the expo. They're a giant guinea pig. Yeah, capybaras are amazing. I love them. I've seen them at San Diego Zoo. You were telling me how excited you were to go to Brizzy. Brizzy, yeah, I know. I'm pretty excited for either. Start a donation drive for tickets and do both. It's not even a matter of just being able to afford to do it. The reality is my beautiful missus would be getting married like the week before the expo, and I'd be abandoning her once to go to Brisbane, or I could abandon her twice to go to Brisbane and Sydney and leave her to look after a bunch of animals that she looks after, but she doesn't particularly like. So I don't know if I want to, I'll be married for all of 7 days. Is there a red-bellied black snake? I do have a red-bellied black snake here. I'll get one out in a minute. I heard you have giant rodents in Australia. We do have some pretty big rats. Yeah. So yeah, you can see where I'm stuck. Whether I go to Brisbane, film this exotic wildlife, and it's not just that I'm excited to film the capybara. You guys who have subscribed to us for a long time, I'll put the snake away for a second. You guys who have subscribed to us for a long time will know that, we took a 6 month break basically from tiger snake. You want to see a tiger snake? 6 month break from videos last year because partially I just needed a mental health break. Petty officer, g'day Halo fam. I just needed a mental health break, but also we ran out of content. We'd filmed everything we have. So Brisbane would offer me the chance to get ahead. Like we'll film 6 months worth of videos. So that means that I'll know. Do you want to see the death adder or a tiger snake? We'll know that we're going to have some videos saved up for us. Whereas the expo won't give us many videos. It'll give us one, the expo, because that's what we have to film in exchange for them for flying me up there. But it might get me some more subscribers. I don't know. Death adder, death adder, death adder. All right, death adder it is. Tiger, death adder, death adder. Do I still have Boo? We still have Boo. Boo's my baby. She'll never ever go anywhere. But she doesn't like being picked up much these days. She's 30 kilos. She's a grumpy female adult wombat. Put you my lovely wife on. You will never, ever get my wife on a live stream, I'm afraid. My daughter Isabella is dying to do a video. We're going to film a video with her this weekend. Maybe on, what her favorite animals are or something. But yeah, tiger snake, never heard of it. We'll cover tiger snake as well. I'll get a death adder out first. It's not the best hook for a death adder, but we'll make it work. So this one's a northern death adder. There's a couple of different species of death adder in Australia. And the death adder is the fastest striking snake in Australia. So be patient with me. Well, maybe you just... If you don't want to give me your tail, maybe I'll get the other way out. Alright, I'm not going to be able to tail him, he's not cooperating well. But this guy here is a death adder. Face the camera. So the death adder is actually an elapid. He's like all of our other venomous snakes here in Australia. But he resembles a viper, which is why he's the adder. Adders are vipers from the old world. So you've got puff adders in Africa. You've got the European adders. So the death adder is named after them because he looks similar. But he's genetically not related at all. It's what we call convergent evolution, where the same trait works really well. So it's like killer whales and penguins are the same colours, despite the fact that they're completely unrelated. One's a mammal, one's a bird. Reason they're the same colours, if you live in the water, being dark on top, light on bottom works well. It means anything looking down sees the depths of the ocean, so you're dark. Anything looking up sees sunlight, so you're light. Same reason sharks, dolphins, same colour scheme. How many species of death adder do I have? I have 2 species of death adder. We've got the northern and the common. This one's a northern. I won't take out 2. I'll start to really push my luck taking out too many things in one night. Good convergent evolution. Like thylacines turning into dogs. Spot on. Tasmanian tigers, not related to dogs at all. But they resemble dogs because that dog-like shape works really well. Who named this snake? I don't think there could be a more scary snake than Death Adder. Good question. So it's a bit of a misleading name. Whoa. Bit of a misleading name. When Europeans first arrived in Australia, these guys were called deaf adders, like they couldn't hear. And the reason being they looked like the adders from England. So that's the adder part. But the deaf part, most of our larger lapids, tiger snakes, taipans, brown snakes, things like this, they're very active snakes. As scary as they are, they're kind of hard to get bitten by because they're usually alert and they're moving out of the way, or they're standing up and say, this is where I am, piss off. Death adders, they rely so highly on camouflage that they used to sit there and go, you can't see me, you can't see me, and people would step on them. So the early settlers thought, well, they're deaf, they can't hear you coming. They're like little venomous landmines. Can't see much of it. Sorry, here you go. About as much as I can show you. I can't really turn him around. He doesn't want to be tailed, this guy. And, you know, he's somewhere around the 6th most venomous snake in the world. One of the most common causes of snake bite in captivity. People really underestimate death adders. But yeah, I've got friends who've been bitten by death adders, and one of them, a good friend of mine, was bitten by a death adder a few years ago, and he spent 2 days in a coma. So I don't plan on if he doesn't want to be tailed, he can sit there. So yeah, they were called deaf adders for a long time, but deaf adder's not a very exciting name. So yeah, it got changed. Has he grown? If he's the one I'm thinking, no. So yeah, I don't know. He might not have grown. I reckon he might. He might have been one of Lynn's. So we had a group of them. We had a few, and some I had to sell, some I kept. But he's a northern, so it could well be. But, you know, Terry and Robert, no, don't know them at all. I know of them. We'll scroll up a bit so I can start back at the comments. How many species of death adder do I have? So I've got 2. There's several more, but we don't need... no. This guy went a tiger snake and a snake love each other very much. You choose what snake to bring out. Yeah, so I'll catch my breath for a second and then I'll get out a tiger snake, okay? This isn't a very good hook for a death adder. Yeah, so, yeah, if you watch a lot of my videos, I don't use a hook a great deal. It's not something to brag about, but maybe a mate of mine, Brandon, on Venom Man 20, he puts it down to an Australian thing. He's like, damn Australian free handlers. If I've got a snake that's relaxed being picked up without a hook, I usually don't use a hook. Bad habit, I know. But the only hook I have at present, other than like a cheap, flimsy one, is this big fella, which is an old golf club. Because all my hooks are homemade. I've never paid for a hook in my life. But Rami out there is making one. Do I have a sand goanna? If so, how much do I feed it? I don't have a sand goanna now. I used to, and I used to feed it 3 times a week. Little bit less in the middle of winter. I have one as a pig, worry about overfeeding. Good rule of thumb with monitor lizards. Lucy's not out, and I'm not going to wrestle her. They should have a slight fold in their stomach. So they should always look like they can fit a little bit more in. Just my opinion. Have I ever wanted any staff to film for me? I do need at some point to get my other half, Liz, she won't film. And I don't blame her. Yeah, like you see me stick snakes right in front of your face. I wouldn't want to hold the camera for me. Somebody reckons I need to get one of those Pivio things. They just name the tiger snake after me in exchange. I could maybe name this tiger snake Rami. The big tiger snake is called Spitfire. He came to me with that name already. But I'll get this tiger snake out. This one is a pretty snake. And he's not mean, but he has this annoying habit where he has to climb the hook. Maybe your hook you won't climb so much, Rami. Alright, so this is Rami. Rami is a tiger snake. He's a nice silver tiger snake too. The silver ones are better anyway. What, the silver tigers? He's a pretty tiger snake, I gotta admit. See what I mean by climbing the hook? He always wants to end up at my fingers. So we had this guy out because we were actually filming a video the other day. A mate of mine, Ben Avery, up in Queensland, was bitten by his pet tiger snake in the last few weeks. And he spent a good couple of days in hospital. And he's been on kidney dialysis for a while. I think he's still on kidney dialysis. And he's actually given up working with venomous snakes. The doctor has told him another snake bite in the next 12 months would kill him. So he's happy enough to do a video with us. This isn't how you usually use a hook. He's happy enough to do a video with us talking about his experiences with the snake bite. And so we had this fella out, we were filming the introduction of a video, send it off to him, and then he can fill in the middle talking about his experience with snake bite. There you go. I'll pop you down for a second. We'll answer some questions, and then I'll get you back out. All right, those bandy... Hang on. Comments disappearing. Pilbara Death Adder. No, I don't have Pilbara Death Adders. I'd like some. Boggle Knight. G'day Boggle Knight. How are you? Oh yeah, so you were the one asking if I had any stuff. I'd totally volunteer if I didn't get bit. I'd try not to let anybody get bit. Betty will do in the future. His videos will be like Cody Pearson, Dingo. Dingo's a great mate of mine. I know I say it every time, but you know, when I disappeared for 6 months, we're a small channel. Like, you know, I get that. We're a pretty small channel. And Dingo was the only other YouTuber who basically, he reached out and said, oh, hey man, like, you haven't put out a video for a while. Is everything okay? He is a genuinely nice guy. And he's sort of the benchmark on what I'd like to do with our channel. Like, not necessarily, you know, we have slightly different presenting styles, maybe. I don't know. You tell me what you think about presenting styles. But that's good because we need different presenting styles. Like people love Chandler and you know, he does a great job. I don't watch him. My ADHD can't keep up all that noise and all that movement. I get lost. I'm like, what did he say 5 minutes ago? I'm going to reverse back and find out. So I don't keep up with him. But so we need different styles. But Dingo, as far as, you know, what a benchmark to us is, he's built this channel and built this following where wildlife, you know, conservationists can reach out and say, we want to dehorn these rhinos. We need $2,000 to do it. And he's got the following that he can do it. I would love, my goal and dream would be to grow this channel to a point where, you know, a wildlife carer could say, look, we need to dart these kangaroos, that they're going to be culled. And I can say, look, give me a week, we'll put it to supporters, we'll raise the money to dart and transport these kangaroos. If we could build a channel like that, it would be fantastic. Think I'm gentle with my snakes and Dingo. Dingo cares about his snakes as much, if not more, than anybody else I've ever met. And I've talked to Dingo quite a bit, sort of, you know, behind the scenes. Very wild with his snakes. He is, but he handles snakes that are also a lot wilder than mine. So, yeah, my snakes, I deliberately get them as tame as they can, because I use them for public display, and I need to be able to hold them and look at you guys at the same time. And while I'll never change the way I handle my snakes, I can see why other channels would get the pressure to maybe, you know, handle them differently. Because honestly, we'd probably grow a lot faster if I was handling crazy wild snakes. That's what people want to see. But it's the way we handle it. If all the channels were the same, you'd only need one. Spot on. Australia's the coolest wildlife art in the world after South Africa. I think one thing that I'm very passionate about is every country has amazing wildlife. I'm doing a video at the moment, or doing a collaboration video with the boys from Celtic Reptiles in Britain on the best of British reptiles. And the whole sort of, you know, meaning behind it is, you know, like Australians, we look at blue tongues and we get, you know, we think that they're boring because we see them. Every country has amazing reptiles. We just need to appreciate what we've got. Nothing wrong with liking the stuff other places, but the red-bellied black's a dangerous snake. I'll get a red belly in a minute. If you held out my hand in front of Ramy or Spitfire, would he bite me just randomly? Spitfire would certainly nail me. He's not a mean snake at all, but Spitfire likes to eat. Anything he thinks he can eat, he will. Another snake I've got that's particularly foodie, that I haven't got out yet tonight, is this guy. So speaking of foodie snakes, this fella still needs a name actually. So this is a blue belly or spotted black. So this is the most venomous of all the black snakes in Australia. You don't want to ride that hook. He's a very strong snake. If he wraps himself up, there you go. So this fella is the blue belly or the spotted black, which is the most venomous black snake in Australia. So the Papuan black snake up in Papua New Guinea is more venomous than him, but it's not Australia. This guy's more venomous than the red belly, substantially more venomous than the red belly, but also more venomous than things like the king brown, more venomous than the colettes, more venomous than all the pygmy mulgars. And he eats other snakes. Particularly, he'd like to eat things like other black snakes. But you're a twitchy bugger tonight, aren't you? The other thing with our black snakes, all of our snakes, there's three different types of, or three different sort of broad categories of venom. You've got neurotoxins, which are the least painful, least sort of scary in some respects, but the most likely to kill you. Neurotoxins stop your nerves firing. You've got hemotoxins, which mess with your blood, and cytotoxins, which destroy tissue. And the black snakes have a combination of all three. None of our snakes are as cytotoxic as the vipers from overseas. Like if you're bitten by a puff adder in Africa, you're not going to die, but you probably wish you would, because you're going to lose the hand that got bitten. Black snakes aren't that cytotoxic, but there's an awful lot of people who have lost fingers and stuff being bitten by black snakes. Sneaky bugger you are. We'll pop you back. All right. The stuff of nightmares. Yeah. Cytotoxic snakes. If I was going to... I don't want to get bitten by any snake, but if you were going to get bitten by a snake, an Australian snake is the best because we've got the best first aid. Do I have an inland taipan? I don't have an inland taipan. I do have a coastal taipan. Yeah. So what's the most venomous snake in the world? Yeah, that's the inland taipan. Hope that you'll all remember to push the like button. Spot on. Carolyn's the lady with that. So yeah, everybody make sure you press the like button. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, subscribe because, you know, it's what keeps us going. And yeah, if anybody does want to support us on Patreon, our Patreon supporters, we've got a private Facebook group for you guys. And, you know, they get to sort of vote on new topics for videos and the thumbnails that I use, stuff like that. Ask me anything they like. There's been no known deaths from a red belly. Yeah, so there's no known deaths from a red belly. There is a handful of possible cases. Like, I've heard of, you know, like tombstones and stuff and like early paperwork where it says like cause of death, black snake. Could be anything. And they used to be blamed on red bellies. Now that we know a little bit more about red bellies and their bites, not so likely. Especially like red bellies do account for 16% of Australian snake bites. So they bite people. But yeah. Blue belly, really, yeah. So blue belly is sort of one of the common names. Spotted black would be a better one. But, you know, he's not spotted either. Need to share this live with an Aussie friend. Go for it, mate. Do I love the spiders of Australia and scorpions? Ever had any? I can show you a scorpion. I do have a spider as well, but she's not very good to get out. So the scorpion that we've got, here we go. This girl here, she's a Flinders Ranges scorpion. So she's one of the biggest scorpions. The Patreon Facebook group is public. Sent an invite a while ago. Have I accepted it yet? I'm not very great with Facebook, but I do my best. Always wondered how would a bluebelly mulga compare to a king cobra for size in terms of hunting other reptiles. I'll get to it in a minute. So yeah, this girl here, Flinders Ranges scorpion. So she's one of the biggest scorpions in Australia. I think she comes out about third, but she's the biggest scorpion you're ever likely to see in Australia because the other two are both in the Northern Territory, way down the bottom end of the Northern Territory. Ranges, Flinders Ranges. Yeah, so she comes from the Flinders Ranges in South Australia. So she's the largest scorpion that you're going to see in captivity. Do I keep anything in outdoor enclosures? I used to keep a lot. Now I've just got my shinglebacks and blueies. But for the next, you know, once we get everything in the new reptile room, we're going to move to concentrating to keep as much stuff outdoors. We're going to move our diamond pythons outdoors, our Murray Darlings outdoors. I'd love to get southwestern carpets, imbricata. So yeah, a few things like that. Thank you, Carolyn. Hang on, how do I... There we go. Yeah, so I'd like to move more stuff outdoors, and I want to build some outdoor enclosures for my crocodiles for the summer as well. Please show a blue tongue and a shingleback. I can do that. I do have one of each inside. I'll put this girl away. Hang on. A blue tongue and a shingleback, you reckon? We'll get a blue tongue first. This is Jabba. Jabba's a nice alpine blotch. Do I have freshies or salties? Currently I've got 2 freshies, but we do own a salty. We just had to move her on for a while, or move him on while we had no shows. Do we have crocodiles? We do. Don't have them in here at the moment. I was hoping to, by today, have this finished. So this is our crocodile enclosure, or one of them. It's about 9 feet long. We've got a big pond in here. We've just been filling it up with rocks again. The only thing is I went to go finish the last few touches today, and the pump's not working. So before I can move the crocs in, I've got to get the pump working. So, yeah. But yeah, we keep a couple of crocs. I used to work with big crocs, proper crocs, up in North Queensland doing crocodile feeding shows for the public. Big 4 and 5 metre buggers. Good fun. So yeah, this is Jabba, sorry, not Bertha. This is Jabba. Jabba's an alpine blotched blue tongue. Does Australia have mammals like mongoose that are specialised to kill venomous snakes? Not really. Like we've got quolls, things like that, who are marsupial predators, and they'll certainly take snakes. But the Australian equivalent to a mongoose, in my opinion, would be our monitor lizards. So in Australia, monitor lizards have sort of filled that medium predator role. And monitor lizards certainly love to eat venomous snakes. So, you've still got some vegetables on your lips. So here's one of our shinglebacks. Poor girl's asleep, her lights have turned off for the night. I was going to say Tassie Devil, yeah, so Tassie Devils are another example. Like, they're not going to be snake specialists. They eat whatever they come across, though. So, yeah, Tassie Devils will eat snakes, but they're not necessarily a hunter. They're a scavenger. Yeah. Won't Kultar feed on snakes? So, yeah. So, the Dasyurids, which are quolls, devils, Kultar, Mulgaras, all the way down to Dunnarts. They'll all feed, other than the Dunnarts, they'll feed on snakes, whether you'd call them, snake specialists. The mongoose is a snake eater. It's what it eats. And we don't have a mammal that lives off them. But there are a few snakes in Tassie. Yeah, there's 3 species of snakes in Tassie. G'day. Oh, thank you, Karen. Early wedding gift. Help convince Liz to let me do both things. Yeah, I'm sure she will. It's just I feel a little bit bad leaving her with all the animals twice. Thank you, Karen. That means a lot. It's 10:30 in Australia. Time to go. 10:30? Is it 10:30 already? I thought it would be 8:30, 9 o'clock. Quolls would kill snakes. Quolls would definitely kill snakes. But again, snakes aren't what they're looking for. They're just being opportunistic. So, love the tail on the shingleback. How much can it weigh? I couldn't tell you in grams. Their tails do get quite fat, especially like at the end of summer, beginning of autumn, when they've been feeding up. It's an interesting pattern on the shinglebacks. Yeah, shinglebacks are pretty animals. Dunnart will feed on anything. There's bushstone curlers that feed on snakes. Yeah, so bushstone curlers are a good example. We've actually got a pair of bushstone curlews, not on us, but we've been offered a pair of bushstone curlews. They're on hold at another zoo. And this is going to be big news for us. They're not very good for demonstrations, but they're a part of a breed for release program. So if we get them, it means that any babies that we breed run the chance of being selected to be re-released into the wild, where they're an endangered species, which would be a massive step for it. Like I've been involved in zoos having breed for release, but for us to breed for release would be absolutely amazing. Do I have goannas? I've got one goanna, but she's asleep in her box and she freaks out a little bit when I take her out. I will do a video on her. I'm thinking of doing a video on her this Thursday, so in 2 days. Yeah, the animals can come too. If you want to see a cute lizard, somewhere in here. Where are you? Here you go. Here's a baby shingleback. Thank you, Thomas. If you do leave a super chat, guys, ask a question or something that I can at least do to fill you back. So the goanna that we have is a lace goanna. My goal, goanna-wise, would be if I could have a pair of laces, a group of sand monitors, and if I could get permission from Parks and Wildlife to keep heath monitors, because they're the 3 species of goanna all found within a couple of hours a year. I'd love to keep local species. Have I ever eaten any snakes before? Do they taste like chicken? I haven't eaten snake. I've eaten a few other reptiles. You know, cultural centres and working with Indigenous Australians up in Queensland. They all describe that snake tastes like chicken, but is like a really stringy, sinewy, like all snakes is long muscles. So it's not meant to taste that great. Have I handled any Indian snakes? I have. I used to work at a reptile park or a wildlife park. We had a lot of animals from overseas there. So we had Burmese pythons, which are obviously from Burma, India. We had Nyokothia, the Asian cobra, which is almost the same as the Indian cobra. So yeah, we had them. They were very cool to work with. We also had some other, not Indian, but other Asian species, such as Siamese spitters, like black and white spitters. India would be, I was about a year ago, asked by a place that was making documentaries on, a couple of questions. And unfortunately, nothing ever happened. But one of the questions I asked was where would be my dream place to film? And to film the Big Four in India would be one of my dreams. To go and film with like the Arula, catching snakes in southern India would be amazing. I have a red belly, 3 months old, and she's smashing food. Do red bellies have a good food response? They've got a fantastic food response once they start eating. Often they're a pain in the ass to get going because they're essentially a frog eater by trade. So yeah. Can we circle back to the Australian reptiles eating snakes versus king cobras? Sorry, mate. Okay, yeah, good point. Pop the lizard back. I'll get a snake out. We'll talk about that. So, hang on, I'll wash my hands before I get a snake, yeah? So you want to know like who was the better snake eater, or like obviously with a size difference, no snake eater comes close to the king cobra. In fact, its scientific name literally Ophiophagus. Ophia means snake, which is like ophidiophobia is fear of snakes. What were you joking about, Master Chief? I can't keep up. It seems to be stuck. It just keeps repeating itself. So yeah, nothing compares to the king cobra in terms of eating snakes. If you shrunk the king down to the size of some of our other snakes, it's really hard to say. Like a mulga might give it a run for its money if pound for pound they were the same. Like mulgas have one of the highest venom yields on Earth. The king cobra is second on Earth in terms of venom yield. But how much of that is because of the fact that it's the biggest venomous snake in the world? If it was the size of a mulga, maybe the mulga would have more. In fact, the mulga was actually considered to be, it was size different makes the king cobra, but for size. My money would still be on a king cobra. Just like something like this guy. We'll get Brutus out again. A lot of our snake eaters, like Brutus here, they'll certainly eat snakes, and they seem to have somewhat of an immunity to snakes. But none of our snakes that I can think of that eat big venomous snakes anyway. Like, you've got the bandy, it eats blind snakes. Like, how exciting is that? But we don't have any snakes like the king cobra, who is a venomous snake specialist. It's all he eats. There's a handful of cases of them eating monitor lizards, which of all the lizards are the closest related to snakes. So I just don't think any of our snakes are quite perfected hunting other venomous snakes in the same way that the king cobra has. He's the king for a reason. Hang on. Whoop. The time. What? Sorry, Master Chief, I don't get what you mean. Maybe I'll go and take out one more venomous snake, hey? We've had a few people leave us some super chats. It means a lot. The least I can do is get into something else out. Do I have Burton's leg lizards? No, I don't. I'd love them, but they're very hard to feed. You got to feed them other reptiles. I handle all those snakes like a pro. Well, I suppose I kind of am. Not to blow my own horn. What's my least favourite snake to handle? That big brown snake. Do you guys see... I took out a big brown snake before. Do you want to see a big brown snake? He was pretty hairy. I can get out Rowdy, who's our biggest, meanest brown snake. Yeah, he's the worst snake I have to handle. I won't be able to answer any questions while I do it, but do I allow the public to visit my collection? No, not really. When you're right about it being 9 p.m. Thank you, Carolyn. You can sort them out. Yeah, I can get him out if you like. What's my favourite animal I have? My dingo. Aztec, my dingo is my firstborn child. What do I want to tell people about snakes? I want to tell people whatever they want to know about snakes, to be honest. Like I know I'm not going to make everybody like snakes. That's fine. But if I could convince everybody that they're interesting enough to respect, would be a good start. All right. Oh, you're still in a great mood. Dingo. Yeah, so I've got a dingo, not the dingo. But if you're on Dingo's channel, tell him he's got to come into Australia because we've got to have dingo with a dingo. And I actually have friends who run a dingo sanctuary who they do some great work and they'd really benefit from having a celebrity over. And having dingo at the dingo sanctuary would be cool. Would a brown or black snake eat a python? Yeah. Either one would eat a python if it was smaller than them. I have to visit South Africa and visit Dingo. Yeah, Dingo said, come over. Like, we were going to go and do his volunteer program. Nobody's travelling in or out of Australia in the foreseeable future. The reason I asked about your collection, I'll have to move my collection on and would like to donate them. Scotty, I'm sorry to hear you've got to move your stuff on. We're not open to the public just because, like, this is my home. We run on a demonstrator permit. So rather than people coming to us, the snake I'm going to get out, Rowdy, he was a donated snake. He used to be a demonstration snake, which is hard to believe because he's pretty narky. But he belonged to another demonstrator who recently retired. He's in his mid to late 80s. His kids have convinced him he shouldn't be keeping a bunch of venomous snakes. And I felt bad for the guy. But I can see why his kids didn't want him dealing with this particular snake. So yeah, we're not open to the public. But we do take our snakes to schools, birthday parties, kindergartens. We use the venomous snakes a lot for snake safety. So we do a lot of snake safety training with local councils. We used to do some with the Army Reserves. We do some with forward drive clubs, the Scouts. And then we do a lot of snake safety stuff at agricultural centres. Brown snake, please. I'm going. All right. I've had to move it back because I need a little bit of space to safely deal with this snake because he is the worst snake I have to handle. By a long way. Oh, geez, settle down, buddy. Carolyn and Boogie, I'm sure you can tackle any questions for me while I'm doing this. Don't wrap around my hand. So this was a big boy. This fella here is the Eastern Brown. It's the second most venomous snake in the world. The inland taipan is certainly more venomous than him, but this is the most dangerous snake in Australia, without a question. The 3 people a year that die of snakebite in Australia, almost all exclusively, are bitten by this guy. So, yeah, browns are, not only are they, the reason they bite so many people is partially not because of how scary they are to handle, it's because they found over a huge section of the country. But this individual is a mean snake to deal with. He wants to climb back up on me, he knows where I am, Like some of our snakes I can distract and I can keep them pointing towards the camera. But he knows where to come. He's fast, he's athletic. He's one snake that makes me sweat just a little bit, eh? And a bite from one of these guys is a pretty big deal. If you're bitten by an Eastern Brown, they've got a strong neurotoxin, and the neurotoxin, like I say, is what kills you. Stops your heart beating, stops your lungs working, things like this. But they've also got a hemotoxin. So you start bleeding out of your eyes, bleeding out of your ears, bleeding out of old cuts and scratches, which, you know, me doing what I do for a living, I've got scratches and cuts everywhere. They thin your blood, and you can bleed internally too. So it's not a pleasant experience. So I don't know exactly how big this guy is. It'd have to be I don't know. He'd be every bit of 1.7 meters. I'm just shy of 1.7. So there, buddy. I want to show everybody how nice you are. There we go. Second most venomous snake in the world. Eastern brown snake. Here's one very cool snake. Look at them, not me. Good boy. So this is Rowdy. Alright, we'll pop you away, Rowdy, before I template too much for the night, eh? Still got to get you back in your enclosure, so. Come on. Alright, I reckon that's the last time I get Rowdy out for the night. Hang on, ooh, what have we missed? What other snakes did I get from Kirk? So we got the 2 brown snakes, the 2 blue belly blacks, and Spitfire. The tiger, one of the death adders. Yeah, we got a few things from Kirk. But yeah, here's where the brown snakes came from. The fattest, most healthy looking snakes I've ever seen, eh? It's as big as a pop, and here's a big snake. Terminal illness. I'm sorry to hear, Scotty. I have a few taipans, need them looked after. When I tip over, you're unwarnable. Mate, I'm very sorry to hear. If there's any way we can help out, let me know. I'm not, I have to sort out how much space and stuff we've got, but if I can't help you out, I'll find a way we can help you out. Yeah. Sorry, Sarah, let me skip back up. Any plan to visit South Africa one day? I would love to visit South Africa. South Africa is way up there. India would be my dream place to visit and film. South Africa, because I want to visit Dingo. Dingo's been really nice to us. He's happy to let us film at his place. Yeah, so love to visit South Africa. And today, somebody sent me details about horseback safaris. And other than reptiles, horses, rodeo is my other big passion. So it would be fantastic. I'll see what other questions I've missed while I was playing with that brown. Can we see the brown snake? Yeah, so we got the brown snake out, Sarah. Maybe able to find how much you charge. Yeah, so Tamara, if you're interested in an event, get onto me on Facebook. Search us up on Facebook because, you know, the prices for events and stuff change depending where you are, stuff like that. But yeah, send me a message on Facebook. We'll get onto it. Thank you, Boogie Night. Hang on. We'll make you a moderator as well, eh? We'll catch up with all these comments and then I'll get something else out to have a look at. Scotty Zoo, I found my channel. Yeah, I'll check out that channel afterwards. But yeah, I hope, you know, things go as well as they can for you, Scotty. Is there a Western brown? I don't have Western browns here. I only keep the Eastern browns. I do keep a lot of venomous snakes, but at the bare minimum, I try and keep the local stuff. You know, so I can teach people snake safety is a big thing. So we teach people about that, and then I try and keep the few big things that you know, people want to see. So, you know, we have the taipan. The blue belly black's a cool topic just because everybody knows about the red belly black, that sort of stuff. Any Western snakes? What do you mean by Western snakes? Any more poisonous snakes? I can get out, we'll put Rowdy away. Maybe I can get out a taipan, eh? There you go. So this is one of our coastals. There you go, buddy. So this is a coastal tie. A lot thinner, a bit more athletic, and is unusually nice-natured for a coastal tie. He's a good boy, this fella. I won't keep him out too long because he's had a feed, so I don't want to keep him away from his heat. But, good body. But they have got the biggest, coolest heads. Like, you have to love taipan heads. I'll see if I can show you. Ooh. There we go. Taipans have these nice big coffin-shaped heads. I'll pop him back on his heat mat. I sort of, didn't think of it, you've only just been fed, buddy. I don't know who else. We'll get out a python or something for a while, eh? What have we missed? Black Mamba brings Megamind to mind. Love collets, the reason why I got into venomous snakes. Collets are amazing. Brings Kill Bill. Yeah, I've never seen Kill Bill. Have I ever captured blind snakes that feed on termites? I've seen some blind snakes, and like we've picked them up off the dirt while we've been gardening. Yeah, so the collet's black snake. I don't have collets now. I used to have collets. I had a breeding pair. I gave them to a friend when COVID and stuff all hit. Maybe I'll get them back. Maybe I won't. I'll have to wait and see how lucky I am. Your cat got bitten by an eastern brown. I still got it. Yeah, cats are bad for getting bitten by snakes. Not enough Aussies' opinions on black mamba, so you'll definitely have to get over there. Yeah, well, I suppose I can't go to South Africa. If I go to South Africa and start bad-mouthing taipans, I won't make it out of South Africa. But, yeah. Do I have a rattlesnake? No, I don't have any rattlesnakes. I only keep Australian snakes. We can only keep... What's the meanest python I have? I've got a python over in the other shed. We'll bring him up here in the next week or so when I've got 2 more tanks like these going above these. And I've got a coastal python called Quasimodo, who's not particularly friendly. That being said, I don't have many mean pythons because every python I've met responds to gentle handling. Every venomous snake, give me 12 months and I reckon I'll have Rowdy Cruise here. He won't be a python, but I'll have him pretty good. So, the reason Quasimodo's not that tame is he wasn't handled when he came to me, and I just haven't had time to work on him much. But we'll get Quasi tame. But yeah, maybe I'll bring Quasi up for some filming next week, eh? We won't stick around too much longer. I'm going to head inside, finish feeding everybody and get to bed soon, I reckon. It's a myth. No. So, what was this about brown snakes changing venom? So, brown snakes do change their venom. It is a myth that snakes get more venomous as they grow up. I've got a video on this, actually. I've got a video talking about a baby snake's more venomous than adults. Because, yeah, it's a myth that, people say baby snakes are more venomous than adults because they can't control their venom or anything like this. The brown snake actually has an interesting story because scientists have found out that brown snakes change the type of their venom from a mainly neurotoxic, I believe, venom when they're young because they're lizard feeders, to it becomes more and more hemotoxic as they grow up. Basically, it becomes more and more able to... Don't quote me on the hemotoxin versus neurotoxin, but they change their venom from a reptile-specific venom to a more mammal-specific venom as they grow up, the eastern brown. It doesn't mean they're more or less venomous, but the actual chemical composition in the eastern brown does change as they grow up, which is an interesting fact, and that's only been discovered in the last few years. Brown snakes have a neurotoxin and a hemotoxin. Yeah, it's a double whammy. Most snakes, a lot of snakes, do have a combination of different venoms. Who are the collets named after? I couldn't tell you, I'm afraid. Yeah. We'll catch up on all these comments and then we'll call it a night, I reckon. I know the story of the bad bite you got from the scrub python. What damage did it do to me? So the worst bite I ever had from a scrub python was a wild scrubby in a roof cavity in North Queensland. And it bit me on my left wrist. It did no damage. Like there was 100 puncture marks all up my wrist and it bruised from my wrist to my elbow. But a month later, it was tender, but you couldn't see anything. I suppose because it was in an area that, like, it probably hit the bone, but nothing, there wasn't any scarring or anything like that. So, Didn't even have something cool to change. So yeah, as the diet changes, the venom changes. It doesn't seem to be, well, there's not the science to show that the diet changing is what causes it. So like if you took a brown and you fed it nothing but mushroom daily diet, does it still have a change? Probably. It seems to be genetic. But the genetic change overlaps with the dietary changes as they grow older, which isn't that surprising. Like we've got snakes like the green tree python. They've got what we call ontogenetic. So an ontogenetic change is a change that the animal's got both like genetics in them already. So a green tree python was already born with the genetics to be green, even though it's yellow. And these genes turn on at a certain point in life. And this venom change would be another example of an ontogenetic change. There's some terminology for you. Can't tell, but there's not much information on any other snakes. Is the python's poisonous? No, so all pythons are non-venomous. There's no such thing as a venomous python. You'll never see me put it. I handle a lot of venomous snakes. You'll never see me put a venomous snake around my neck. You'll see me free handle venomous snakes from time to time. And I'm not saying that's not something to brag about. It's probably a bad habit. But it is what it is. You'll see me free handle snakes. You'll never see me handle a venomous snake this way. When I free handle a venomous snake, even Brutus, something friendly, I handle him in a way that if I have to drop his front half and go back to tailing him, I can. So, thanks to me and Dingo, you've got a love and respect for snakes. Thank you very much. That's what we do. Bacteria on the saliva, so you probably wouldn't want it to go untreated. So if you were bitten by this guy, snakes, all animals have some bacteria in their mouths. Snake bites are really clean though. They don't chew their food. They don't eat dead food. Well, they don't eat carrion or anything like this. They only eat freshly killed food. So yeah, like if you're bitten by a snake, you run the risk of infection, not because of the bite itself, so much as the fact you've got open sores. So yeah, you want to keep them clean. But there's a much bigger risk of infection. The worst bite I've ever had from any animal on earth was a koala. I was bitten by a koala and 2 days later I came into work and I was like dizzy and seeing double. And my boss sent me to hospital and it was really, really badly infected. I had to go on a drip and stuff for a while. Whereas snake bites, I've had hundreds and hundreds of snake bites. Think they're nice, but you wouldn't want to own them. That's fine. Like I wouldn't want people to own snakes that don't want to own snakes. That's how we end up with snakes like this fella who was a pet that the kids had lost interest in. Mum and dad didn't want to feed it. They rang me and said, could you come and get him? I did get salmonella from my bread love. That's not due to a bite. Yeah, that's due to more what's going on in their guts. Ever heard of the Komodo dragon? Kills of bacteria, been recorded with goannas in Australia. So we've recently discovered, in the last 5 years discovered that it's not just bacteria. Most monitor lizards, all monitor lizards, it looks like, do have some primitive venoms as well. And a lot of that science was done on Australian monitor lizards. So, good question for me to tackle. Was that the difference between poisonous and venomous snakes? So, I'm working on a video, I haven't finished it, on what the difference of poisonous and venomous snakes is, but we'll tackle it here because Carolyn's been so good to us. Oh, Samson, you're making a mess everywhere. So, the difference with poisonous and venomous snakes, if you're talking to a reptile person, is poison is ingested and venom is injected. So if something injects venom into you through a bite or a sting, it's going to be venomous. If you have to ingest poison, like a cane toad, it's poisonous. So that's why we break venomous snakes. Oh, the Komodo one. Oh, I'll go back to that. That's why I break venomous snakes into venomous snakes, and then there's poisonous snakes. Then there's some snakes that are both. So Australia doesn't have any poisonous snakes. We've got venomous snakes. Some snakes, like the tiger keelback in Southeast Asia, they eat toads, and they've got glands on their body that can sequester the toxins. They can store the toxins from the toads in their body, which makes their flesh poisonous as well. And the tiger keelback's also venomous. So it can be venomous and poisonous. Now, a lot of reptile keepers love shoving this down people's throats. You see reptile keepers who, somebody goes, oh, I had a poisonous snake in my yard. And rather than help the poor guy out with advice, they're like, there's no such thing as a poisonous snake. When, well, there is, they're just not here in Australia. Keelbacks here eat toads, would they be poisonous? No, the Australian keelbacks, for some reason, don't have the nuchal glands, the glands in their neck to store the toxins. So they're immune to them, but they don't seem to be able to store the toxins in their own body to like save for later. So yeah, a lot of reptile keepers are happy to shove that down people's throats. I don't like it because, for a start, some dictionaries are catching up, but most of the highly regarded or pufferfish, poisonous. Most of the highly regarded dictionaries still consider the two words interchangeable. The definition of poison in a lot of dictionaries is still simply a substance that can do harm. That would include venom. It would make venom a type of poison. So, unlike most reptile keepers, he'll say, you're wrong. I tell people it's about context. If you're writing a scientific paper on snakes, you probably want to use the word venomous, not poisonous. But if you're talking to Joe Blow on the street, it's actually correct English, according to some dictionaries, to use poisonous or venomous. The other reason that the words poisonous and venomous haven't necessarily been a good example is my excuse for years and years and years, and this has actually been wrapped up in a scientific paper more recently, is, well, what does that make something like the spitting cobra? He's venomous. He spits venom. But if he spits venom in your eyes, it's not being injected. It's being ingested or absorbed. So is that still venom? So scientists in the last year or two have proposed a third category called toxogenous or toxingenous, which is toxins that are absorbed into the body from a range. And that would include things like spitting cobras. So a spitting cobra would be toxogenous and venomous, while a tiger keelback would be poisonous and venomous. Things like skunks would be toxogenous. So Steve Irwin is on video saying poisonous snakes. Yeah, he says poisonous snakes in all his videos. Mind you, it's, remember toad-licking people that would lick toads to hallucinate? I watched a video in high school, people boiling them up and drinking it and all sorts of stuff. Do you know they get garter snakes in South Africa or Madagascar? Oh, I don't know if they wouldn't get the same. Garter snakes can be poisonous, yeah. I don't know if they'd get the same garter snakes in South Africa or Madagascar. They'd have another colubrid that they call a garter snake. It's a very long way away. Ever wanted to visit Madagascar? I would love to visit Madagascar. If somebody wants to buy me a ticket, I'm there. But until then, there's a lot of other things that I've got to pay for. Are there toads in Australia that can excrete toxins from the skin? So we don't have any natural or native toads, but the cane toad was introduced to Australia, and there's a handful of records of Asian spiny toads being in Australia as well. They're both very poisonous, and they're killing a lot of wildlife. A spitting cobra is hard to handle. Depends on the species. So, there is a huge variety of spitting cobras. I've only worked with 2 species of spitters. I've worked with black and white or Siamese spitters, and they were like puppy dogs. And I've worked with Mozambique spitters, and they were a little bit more fiery, more willing to spit. The Siamese spitters, they didn't even look like cobras because they don't even hood up at you half the time. It'd only be when the babies hood up all the time. But yeah, they don't want to spit all the time. So, spitting cobras aren't even all related. So the Asian spitting cobras and the African spitting cobras aren't that closely related. There's 8 million years separation. In fact, they evolved separately. So cobras moved to Asia, cobras moved to Africa, and then some of those in both continents evolved to spit. Wow, Mozambique spitting cobra. You have to talk with Dingo about one. Yeah, so I don't have Mozambiques, but I used to work with them. And I've never had a venomous snake bite. But the closest sort of thing that I could think of is years ago I was working with Mozambique spitting cobras. And I was offering food to one that he was in shed, but it was his feed day. I thought, you know what, I'll offer it to him. If he doesn't want it, he doesn't want it. And he spat at my hand. And I didn't think too much about it. I washed my hands and stuff and carried on my day. About half an hour later, I scratched my nose right near my eye. And within half an hour, my face felt like it was on fire. Luckily, I remember reading in a book that milk, full cream milk, is the best thing. Apparently, the fat in milk absorbs proteins. I don't know, something. But it felt like if you've eaten a really, really hot curry and you have that soothing yogurt, it was instant relief. But yeah, the other big thing about spitters is because spitters, they leave the venom around the enclosure. Like dingo, you run the risks of developing allergic reactions to them, which is not something you want. Black and white spitters, the only exotic elapids I care about. They're amazing. We had to stop breeding them. We had 32 baby black and white spitters at the park I was working at. Because the reptile keeper before me just kept putting eggs in the incubator. But no other zoo wanted them. Because I suppose if you keep them, you've got to organise your own anti-venom. So it just wasn't, wanted. Yes, he wears gloves. Yeah, Dingo wears gloves. He's handling snakes that are often a lot faster than mine. The gloves don't stop the allergy. If anything, the gloves are just an extra thing for Venom to stick to that he then touches the next day. But yeah, the gloves are to protect his hands from handling mambas and stuff like that and cut the hook. So basically, spitting cobra venom is spicy. That's fine. I've been eating a lot of chili lately. You can try. I wouldn't suggest it. After you breed snakes, what do you do with them? I don't breed many snakes. If I do, it's because I've already got people that want them. But most people sell them through the pet trade. There's reptile clubs, things like that. We'll wrap things up in a minute, guys. We've been here for an hour. Plus, we did half an hour on the TikTok live stream. So the missus will be waiting for me. Even a mask can't help you from some snakes. So yeah, like the mask, we used to wear masks handling the spitters, and that stopped them getting in my eyes. But it doesn't stop it getting on the enclosure. It doesn't stop it getting in the substrate. Like we had a bark substrate. And then you're cleaning that substrate, which puts that venom into the air and you're breathing it in. And that's what over time can cause the allergic reaction. Like if you speak to Dingo, if he's in the room with spitters, he starts to like get itchy and swell up. Yeah, I've watched a few Tolan Nolan's videos. He's got some spitters. I think he's got black and white spitters. I've always known them as Siamese spitters, but it's probably not. I have to demonstrate like Dingo with a snake stick sometimes. You mean like one of these? That's what I've been doing all night, mate. All right, guys. I'm going to call it up there. We've been here for an hour. It's been a good night. We've had a few of you leave some super chats and whatnot. I do want to say, I know a few of you already are, but if anybody does want to support us, check us out on Patreon. It's our Patreon supporters who really make this possible. It's the reason I can take an hour and a half out of my night every week for you guys. And leave a comment, because what this all started about was I wanted an opinion on whether I should go to this reptile expo in Sydney, or whether I should go to Brisbane and film wildlife. I don't know. It's just too many ideas, and I can't afford to do them all. So we'll do one of them. Either way, you guys are going to get a video. It's just whether or not we go to Sydney, film at the expo, or whether I go up to Brisbane, we get to film with capybaras and fennec foxes and alligators and stuff. So yeah, too many options. Really enjoyed this. Thank you, Boogie Night. Thank you very much. Was it you that said you're waiting to join the Patreon Facebook group? I'll double check it before I go to bed. I promise. I think Reptile Expo would be good. More subscribers, more ad revenue. Yeah, that's the thing. So the expo would probably bring in more subscribers. But I don't want to sound like I just want more subscribers. I love the subscribers I've got. So it's whether I want to get more subscribers or get more videos to give you guys the subscribers I already have. I don't know. I want to do the right thing by all you guys. You guys are so kind enough to support me. Was going to go to the expo. More ad revenue, more opportunities to travel later. Well, yeah. Speaking of traveling later, this is part of the issue. So the zoo we're going to go film at, our friend's got a private zoo. And the reason why there's a bit of a deadline, he said that we can have the place to ourselves. Whoop. So yeah, the reason that there's a bit of a deadline with filming at this place in Brisbane is it's about to open to the public. So he said we can have the place to ourselves, we can film whatever we want, as long as it's before official opening, which is in June. Because after that, he'll have the public coming through, and just business-wise, he can't afford to give a whole day of his time to me to be taking his animals out and doing whatever I want with. So yeah, that's what throwing a spanner in the works. If it wasn't for that deadline, I'd be like, I'll put the Brisbane trip off, we'll go to the Reptile Expo. But the fact that if I put it off too long, I might not be able to visit. Well, I'll be able to visit, but I won't be able to get, like we were going to hammer out 30 or 40 videos, which is like a year's supply of our 5-minute videos and some shorts. Continue showing cool wildlife in Australia. I'm doing my best. I'd love to, Australian wildlife is obviously my passion. But I'd like to show some exotic wildlife as well. And also, I've showed you everything I own. So, yeah. Brisbane sounds like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Expos are every year. Yeah, I don't know. Well, the other thing is if I don't make the expo, they want to know if I could go and do a talk at one of their meetings, which would be cool. I'm not sure. I don't think I'm experienced enough to be doing a talk at a herpetological meeting. I'd be talking to people who have been doing this a lot longer than me. So I don't know what I'd talk about. They said I can give any topic I like, but I don't know. How did I get into Aussie wildlife? When I was 8 years old and I could reach the door handle, I'd sneak outside and catch lizards, and it just sort of grew from there. I don't keep frillies at the moment. I used to keep frillies. Do I have platypus? No, platypus are very hard to keep alive. There's only 7 facilities in Australia that keep platypus, unfortunately. I'd love to film with them. Do I have spiny-tailed skinks? I do have a Cunningham skink. I'm not going to get him out now. We're wrapping things up, but we did our video this week. This Sunday's video, or last Sunday's video, was on the Cunningham skink. All right, guys, we'll wrap things up there. But yeah, so once again, made a wise comment. I agree with me. On which one, Carolyn? It's not often I make a wise comment. I should be able to figure out which one it was. Want to see the platypus? We want to see a platypus too. All right, we'll finish things up, guys. But yeah, like I said, leave a like, leave a comment when this goes up to a regular video on what you think we should do. Should we go to Brisbane, film with animals up there? Should I go to the Reptile Expo? Should I do a talk at a herpetological meeting? And if so, what should I talk about? Yeah, other than that, check us out on Patreon if you want to help out. Thank you all for giving me an hour of your time. Be nice to wildlife. Have a good one. Take care.